Hello, hello. How many folks we got here on the live? Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. So weird. Not buying. Can you guys hear me? Hello? 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 This is strange. Hello? Hello? This is strange. Hello? Hello? This is strange. Hello? This is strange. Hello? If you guys can see this video, and if you're live right now, click the like button, let me see. Because for some reason, from my end, I'm not seeing anyone. So I just pull it up on my phone. And if you're live right now, click the like button. It says there's 14 people watching. From my end, I'm not seeing anyone. So I just pull it up on my phone. And if you're live right now, click the like button. It says there's 14 people watching. From my end, I'm not seeing anyone. Very strange. So you guys can't comment or anything? So you guys can't comment or anything? I'm streaming through Google Hangouts. So you guys can't comment or anything? All right, let me try something. Through Google Hangouts. So you guys can't comment or anything? All right, let me try something. Through Google Hangouts. So you guys can't comment or anything? All right, let me try something. Through
Did you guys see that link I just posted below the video? Did you guys see that link I just posted below the video? Did you guys see that link I posted below the video? Oh, wow. I'm just seeing the messages now. So this is what's happening. I'm streaming through Google Hangouts to YouTube, and I did it this way just so I could I totally messed this up. It's the first time I'm using it like that. All right, so let me see. I'm gonna post a link, and I want you guys to click on it.
Oops. Oh, really? My bad.
We got some
My bad.
We got some I think I'm getting feedback. I need to close one of these windows. All right, you guys comment in the section. Tell me if you're oh, so I see someone join group chat. What's up, KE? Oh, so I see someone join group chat. Oh, hello. What's up, KE? So if everyone can join. Hello.
Hello.
Let me turn that down. All right, can everyone hear me now? So if everyone can join.
Hello.
Let me turn that down. All right, can everyone hear me now? Everyone can join. All right, can everyone hear me now? Welcome, Leo. You can hear me all right. Good. All right, I'm just going to tell the rest of the folks on YouTube if they can migrate over. I didn't know this is the way this would have worked out. The reason I decided to stream from Hangouts to YouTube is because you can switch platform, you can switch angles. So I can switch from my webcam to my computer so we can see Ridiculous, which I thought would be important for you guys to see as I demonstrate things. But then I realized that whatever chat was happening over on YouTube wasn't being passed over to Google Hangouts. It's like two separate things. Just streaming and sending it over to YouTube, but nothing else was getting passed over. So now I'm wondering if the rest of the folks can join me over here. I guess I could probably still juggle everything for those who probably don't have interface. It's really difficult to juggle everything from my phone because I can't see the chat. And I'm doing this from my laptop because I thought it would be easier to be portable. Okay, what's happening now? I also realize there's a severe delay lag on YouTube. It's like a 10-second delay. So I'm just going to juggle it from here and apologize. I'm sure next time I'll have this figured out. Make sure to go through everything thorough. So for those who are watching YouTube or currently here on the Hangouts, thank you for joining. And great, so I see more people, look like more people joining the chat. So the goal of these, I will hope to do more of these live sessions, start out with once a month, and then going forward, we can do more of these live sessions. And I just wanted to be sort of like a seminar, open seminar, question and answer. You ask whatever question you have, and I'll try to answer it live so you can see how everything flows. Because I know you probably have a lot of questions when you're practicing throughout your days, and I'm not right there to answer them right away. So hopefully we can do this on a more consistent basis, get you moving closer towards your goal. So I'll take questions from Hangouts and those from YouTube who, my God, there's so much questions over there now. So I'll probably start with those. Give me a minute. Folks on YouTube saying they're getting feedback. I made sure to mute this so I don't see why you'd get feedback. That's not connected to that. Still getting feedback. Yes, I can see your message. For those who can join me, all right, so I'm going to start with questions from Google Hangouts because you guys seem to be getting a more consistent stream. It's more in real time. The folks over on YouTube getting a delay. So I'll start with Google Hangouts first.
Sorry, this device.
All right, so if you guys can respond to the chat and tell me your name, or if you want, you can unmute your. Actually, don't unmute your mics. She's shaking her head, saying no. You can comment in the chat and let me know who I have over here and on Hangouts. I can see the names, but I don't know who's who. Steven. Yeah. Not sure which one is Steven. Some of the. Oh, actually, never mind. I just realized if I hover the mouse over the picture, it tells me the name. Great. So we have Marquito, we have Steven, Leo, and we have Kay. All right, so I'll start with you guys here, and I'll also pull questions from YouTube. what you have? What kind of questions you have for me this evening? What's your burning question? From like, I would love for you to answer this, to demonstrate this evening. What's your burning question? Who want to start? From like, by the way, can you guys hear the keyboard? Okay. What's your burning? Can you hear the keyboard all right? All right, good. Thumbs up. So, okay. If Kay is hearing it, then I'm sure everyone else will be hearing it. Any questions? Anybody want to start with the questions? What are the skill levels we currently have? And again, you can type in the chat. Beginners, intermediate advanced. Then I can have an idea where we can direct the sort of this evening Q&A. So Leo asked a question, are there future paid courses I plan to do outside of YouTube? Are you a part? Well, yeah, all the courses on my website, and every month I'll post something. I'll post a song tutorial, or I'll post a full course. The course that I'm currently working on, it's not finished yet. It's called Altered Extensions, and that covers 13s flat, 13 sharp 9s, and how to use those in all 12 keys. So that course will be out soon, Leo, and it will be on that website. All membership will be able to access it. All right, so Carl is intermediate advanced, good. Marquito, transposing. Question. Transposing. Do you think of each note in terms of numbers or some other method that makes transposing on the spot easier? So he's asking, okay, if I'm transposing a song, how do I think about it? Do I think about it in terms of numbers, letters, chord progression? How do I think about it? Well, the safest way is to think about it in all different forms. So for example, if I'm playing Amazing Grace in C, that song, I decide, okay, I was just playing the key C. And if I want to take that song up to D, what do I do? The first thing I start to transpose mentally is the chords. And that's where I start to think in terms of numbers. I know I'm on my 1. And I know I'm going to my 4 after that. Then back to my 1. Then to my 6, to my 2, to my 5, and then back to my 1, to my 4, then I do a passing 3 to 6, then this walk. So because I have the song pattern in terms of chord structure memorized, I'm just thinking in terms of numbers. So I'm going, okay, I'm going to the 4 next, I'm going to the 5, I'm going to the 6, so on and so forth. As it relates to melody now, if I'm playing the melody of the song, I'm thinking scale degrees. So when I did the transposition, I was in the key of D. So then I start thinking about the notes that belong to the scale. And I'm also familiar with the melody well enough to know, okay, Amazing Grace starts on the 5, 5, 1, then sort of like up to the 3, then 2, 1, 6, 5. So I know the melody of the song as it relates to the scale degrees. So I'm thinking in terms of numbers for the chords, and I'm thinking scale degrees. 9 times out of 10 when I'm playing, especially in a church setting, I'm accompanying the congregation or singer, so I'm not playing that much melodies. So in that case, I'm thinking solely chord progression in terms of numbers, to the 1 to the 6. And so this is why before you start transposing a song, you need to know the chords. You need to have the chords fully committed in terms of number. If you learn the chords and you just learn the letter degrees like D, G, A, you need to quickly turn that into numbers and start to memorize it this way. Every song I know it in terms of numbers, and I can listen from beginning to end without playing the piano, telling the sequence the chords occur. I truly know the song. Because also when I'm thinking of chord changes, sort of in the background, the melodies to the 4, goes to the 2, it goes to the 6, you know, the melody sort of guiding. So, Marquito, that's the answer to your question. If you're thinking about transposition, you first need to know the chords in terms of numbers really well. And then if you're going to be playing melodies on top of that, you have to start thinking about the melody from a scale degree perspective. If there's a leap in the song, where did it leap to? Oh, it just leap up to the 6 and walk down, or it leaps down to the 2. You know, you sort of have a contour as to how the melody moves through the different scale degrees. Good? Let me know if you have a follow-up question to that. And I'll go through the list and pick something. By the way, for you guys who are watching both here and on YouTube, I'm recording everything so that later on I can post it on the website. And look at that. My phone's telling me that my battery is low. Everything's going wrong tonight. Anyway, I'm recording all of this. So for those who even couldn't make the live tonight, or if you have to leave soon, all of it will be recorded and posted on the website so you can go back and rewatch it. Okay, Carl say, when do you use the different modes, Warren? Dorian, Lydian, Mixolydian. Well, modes are predominantly used for improvising. Unless you're writing some obscure jazz song, most modern melodies, whether gospel, pop, are going to be based on either the major scale and the minor scale. The modes now is stuff I use for improvising. During little passages, I want to do a certain run, I might pull out one of the modes. Now, the best course that explained this for you, is the course I have called Exotic Sounds. I went through all the church modes. I went through the blues scale. I went through some modes from the minor key, and I tell you what chord the modes can be played over. Now, as to when you use them between passages, just like how you use passing chords in between the structural chords of the song. Same way you would use those little modes and runs. If you see my last YouTube video that I posted a few days ago titled three techniques for gospel or something like that. And in there, I show you how you can play, what was it again? A super low quint scale over a diminished chord. But you see how I used it. If you haven't seen that tutorial or that YouTube video, go back and check out that YouTube video. And you'll see how I slipped it in right in the middle of a song, but I didn't play it in the midst of when the melody was active. Right, let me see if I can demonstrate it here. I was at Precious Lord, I believe, and that was in the key of C. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm And this is where I played it. I played through the storm, through the night, lead me on through the light. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on. So little passages, and generally when we're playing modes, sometimes I play half of the mode. Sometimes I might play only just one octave, a quick run, or sometimes I may just pick notes from the mode. And so that's what we generally use. You don't use it the way we practice scale. You try to use it in a tasteful manner. So you pick notes, or you could just play half of it depending on the speed of the song, how much time you have on that particular chord. You know, if it's one of those chords where you hold long, you can probably play a nice run up the piano or a nice run descending. So the context change from song to song based on those characters. Yep. So that's a little tip around modes right there. All right, let me go down and see if there's anything else there. All right, let me see if there's something from YouTube. My YouTube folks, you see, the thing is, the YouTube is it's about 15 seconds delayed, which is crazy. I didn't know what the delay was. So things that you guys have heard already, they haven't even heard yet. All right, so my YouTube folks, I'm seeing that there's 14 people still over on YouTube. My YouTube folks, when you get to this section of the stream, start posting your questions. Okay, here's a question. What is the difference playing single? Okay, this question needs to be rewritten. Old school gospel and modern gospel. What is the difference of playing styles? Okay, I think I get it. You're asking what's the different type of styles between playing old school gospel and modern gospel. Best thing I can say for you is go and listen to some old school. Listen to some Shirley Caesar. Go listen to some Mahalia Jackson. Go listen to, just type in gospel music from like 30s through to the 1980s. And you'll hear what gospel sounds like. And the thing is, modern gospel sort of lean heavily more towards R&B and jazz. You know, old school gospel was predominantly blues. You know, a lot of blues scale. Most of the chords was dominant 7 because blues was the thing back then. You know. So a lot of dominant 7ths, they might even make some a dominant 9th. A lot of diminished chords. Also, a lot of old school gospel have what I call the gospel 3. It's like a gospel wall. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So a lot of gospel were written in that sort of 3 style. There was a lot of blues being used, and most of the chords were just dominant 7ths. Or they may do some major 7ths, minor 7ths. As we get more modern now, you have guys like Kirk Franklin come on the scene. You got your Fred Hammond, and what are some other cats? You know, even the Donnie McClurkin and the Mary and Yolanda Adams. You know, once those folks sort of came on the scene, then gospel start to lean heavily more towards R&B flair. And so not only the chords start to get more advanced and complex, but the instrumentation starts to change. You have a lot more Rhodes, just a lot more layering with strings. You know, that's also because music got digitalized. So we have like soft synths. So cats couldn't hire an orchestra back in the day to put a string arrangement in their song. You can do that with virtual strings. And so the music got more dense from an instrumental perspective, but also the music leaned more towards R&B and neo soul. Because I remember when I was growing up, and I'm pretty young. I'm going to be 34 years old next month. But when I was a kid, you couldn't bring R&B in church. You couldn't bring rap in church. None of that stuff. Old people would chase you out. But as we get more modernized, you know, that becomes the sort of music of today. And so now you got rap in church, you got R&B, and I'm good with that. You know, I don't have any problem with that. You know, I think you can worship the Lord based on whatever talents you were given. So that's when you start to have a significant break between what we call gospel. And now you have old school, and then you have new school. So in my opinion, those are the defining characteristics. It's the chordal passages start to change more to more R&B and neo soul. And when we talk about neo soul sort of starts to break the traditional rule of harmony. It starts to use a lot of borrowed chords, going outside the key, you know, tonicization, and a lot of that stuff. The chords get more advanced. 13th flat ninths. Back in the day, none of that stuff was played, you know, because they would say you start to sound too R&B, and the pastors didn't like that. The older folks didn't like that. And so you have to keep everything to dominant seventh. I mean, even right now, I was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist. You go to a Seventh-day Adventist right now in Jamaica, I guarantee you will not see a drum. You might see a one bass player. A lot of the keyboard players there still keep things pretty modern, you know. They play the hymns the way they were written. At my church right now, we don't play the hymn the way it's written at all. Either we speed up the tempo or we make it R&B groovy. We change stuff, you know. And because I'm the music director there, you know, I'm going all the way out. So I reharmonize the hymns, you know, we take it differently. And it's fun. So those are defining characteristics between old school gospel and new school gospel. Let me see what other questions is over on YouTube. By the way, guys, you're asking some really good questions. I'm glad. I'm excited. More questions on YouTube, folks. We still got 11 people over on YouTube. And I see more people joining us here at Hangouts. I'm probably going to just go straight Hangouts next time because I realize that the streaming is more consistent than YouTube, you know. All right, let me see what's going on over here at Hangouts. We got some question from Carl. Have you got a course on reading music quickly? I play mainly by ear, but can read music. But I am very rusty, as it's been since I was taught that way. Okay, so this is something I've been contemplating over the past, say, 8 months. When I started the YouTube channel, I primarily wanted to teach people how to play by ear. And for those of you who've been following me from the beginning, you probably realize that a lot of my courses back then didn't have any form of sheet music with it or anything like that. After a while, I realized a lot of folks start asking, like, hey, do you have the score of the stuff that was played? And I would be saying, no, I don't have the score. But more people keep asking for it, so I started to incorporate that in the courses now. I have, you know, PDF sheets and scores of the things that I played exactly in the lesson. And I've been thinking about, should I start creating courses around note reading? I mean, the entire thing is I want people to start play by ear, get dependent on using your ears and not your eyes. With that said, I am classically trained, so I had to learn how to play music. My degree is in classical piano performance. And not only do I read music, I had to play all the advanced Chopin and Beethoven and you name it, and I had to play it. So I learned to read music. The thing is, I don't read any form of music nowadays. I may occasionally read something from the hymn if the Reverend pulled something from the hymnal that I don't know by ear, I'll read it. So I don't know. I want you guys to tell me if you think you'd be benefit from me creating a course around learning how to read music, because I only want to create content that I know is going to help you guys. If nobody wants it, then it doesn't make sense for me to create it. Carl, to answer your question, if you want to get quicker at reading music, get a hymnal. My teacher told me this about 15 years ago when I was just learning how to read. She said, get a hymnal and just try to read through a hymn a day. Because hymnals are written this way. It's very vertical. It's like chords. And so it forces your peripheral vision not just this way, but also this way. Also, because hymnal doesn't come with a lot of complex rhythms, they're perfect for sight reading. Now, some tips around sight reading is that once you turn to something you've never read before, and that's one of the rules of sight reading, try to read things that you already don't know. Because if you know it, you're going to just regurgitate muscle memory, and you think you're reading, but you're not really reading. You're just playing stuff from memory or finger memory. So turn to something you've never read before, spend about 30 seconds to 60 seconds, scan through the piece. What are you looking for? You're looking for all the weird stuff. Where are the accidentals, the sharps, the flats that don't belong to the key? You're looking at awkward stretches or intervals that are probably beyond an octave or probably even inside an octave, but you're just trying to prep your brain on anything that's going to be out of the ordinary that it's going to cause you to slow down and figure it out. After 30 seconds to 60 seconds of doing that, try to play through it slowly. As you're going through it, do not correct yourself. If you make a mistake, keep going. The goal is sight reading, not perfection. You play a wrong note, you play a note that doesn't belong to the key, it doesn't matter. Keep going and try to get through the entire piece. Once you finish the piece, try it for a second time. Once you get through it, you're done with that piece. That's how sight reading goes. And that's how you practice sight reading. And in one sitting, you can probably do 2 or 3 of that. And if every day you do that, your eyes and your brain will get quicker. And you realize you start to be able to sight read things more accurately. Because back in the day when I was learning sight reading, I would sit there and try to perfect the stuff. So I'd play like 3 measures and then I'd go back and fix the error. And I'll do that. My teacher says, no. As much as there is an urge to want to correct it, don't correct it. Play through the piece beginning to end. Do it a second time, then turn to a new hymn. Do the same thing again. If you're also looking for just simple materials to practice, you can go to a place like sheetmusicplus.com, or if you're familiar with the Alfred's piano series, get some of those easy books and just practice the same thing. You always want to practice sight reading with something that's easy, not nothing too complex with all kind of runs and crazy accidentals that's going to force you to stop and try to figure out. And then as you get more advanced, you work your way up. So that's how I learned how to sight read. Questions on YouTube? My YouTube folks, I need some questions from you. All right, let me jump back over here at Google Hangouts. Oh, this guy's asking how comes I can see other people's face. That's because they have their camera turned on. So you can turn on your camera or you can turn off your camera. You can mute your microphone or you can unmute your microphone. So that's why. Question from Leo. You talk into your course about a non-chord tones. I believe that's what you're at. Especially the 9/8 suspension and the 3/4 suspension. Are there others that you can play? Suspensions. Those are the main type of suspensions. 3/4 suspension, 9/8 suspension. Any other type of passing tones, it's not necessarily going to be a suspension. Because remember, the concept of a passing tone is that you're on a particular note, you want to get to this note, you can use the neighboring note as a passing tone. And I'm not talking about chords now, for those of you listening. We're talking about passing tone. Like, for example, if I'm in the key of C, this would be a 9/8 suspension. See here? The interval of a ninth from the root, and it resolved to an octave. Here's a 4/3 suspension. So in this case, I have the B going to an A, and I'm on an F chord. So those are the two types of suspension, 9/8, 4/3. Apart from that, you can have a lot of passing tones. And this is something you can experiment with. Like, for example, let me see if I can demonstrate. Like this one right here. Actually, that's a 9/8. That was a passing tone. And it was neither a 9/8 or a 4/3 suspension. So 9/8, 4/3, those are basically the two types of passing tone suspensions. And then outside of that, there's a whole bunch of different types of passing tones. And in my opinion, it's not worth trying to memorize the name of those different type of passing tones. In college, we learn about them, and they got some weird name. They call them the upper something passing, this, that passing. And it's just different ways people, theorists, come up with names to explain all the stuff that Beethoven and those guys were doing in their compositions. 9/8 and 4/3 are probably the stuff you're going to hear 90% of the time. Okay. Question on YouTube. What is the difference? Okay, I read that already. To my folks on YouTube looking for some more questions, let's see what's happening over at Google Hangouts. Welcome, Clayton Williams. Clayton says, what tempo is used for slow, medium, and fast practice times? So tempo is a very relative thing. It's going to vary based on the individual. Because for me, as an advanced pianist, what I would consider slow for a practice tempo, like for example, I could play my scale like this. This is what I would consider a slow tempo to practice your scale. For me, that's slow. For a beginner, that's probably way too fast. And so the tempo varies based on the individual skill level. However, what I might add to that is when you're playing slow for your tempo, it should be at a pace where you're not making mistakes. Like, for example, if you're practicing scales and you're fumbling and you're slipping and you're making mistakes, that means it's not slow enough. When it is slow, there should be no room for error because you're going so slow that your brain can keep up and even think ahead of what's happening. As you get more advanced on the piano, you're going to realize your brain can think faster about stuff because of muscle memory. And so your slow is going to be a little bit faster than the average beginner. By the time you get to intermediate, your slow is going to be even faster. And so that's how you gauge yourself. My slow should be at a tempo where I'm not making any mistakes. And then I gradually increase speed. When you're practicing scales, arpeggios, even songs, you want to gradually increase speed and eliminate error. Because the thing is, some people sit and they practice a scale for weeks and months and they're still making mistakes. What's happening then? You're reaffirming bad habits. You think you're getting better, but you're not, because you're still making the same mistakes. You're only learning, you're only getting better at making that mistakes. And so you try to eliminate mistakes as much as possible. And you do that by going slowly and gradually getting quicker over time. And this is something you can monitor. I used to keep a little log of how fast I can play my scales. So I might say this week I could play my scales at, I don't know, 50 beats per minute. 3 weeks later, I go, okay, now I can play it at 55. And you gradually, because once you get to a tempo where you realize you start to make mistakes, that's your body and your brain telling you, slow down a little bit, yeah? And that's how you sort of eliminate mistakes from your practicing. I see the question is coming in. So a question from YouTube from Humbenson. Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name strange. He asked, what is the fingering movements used when doing runs? So if I'm playing and I decide I'm going to do a run, what fingering do I use? How do I know what fingering would work? This is a very important question. And so I'm going to stress this for you guys. Your scales is the building block to everything. Let me say it again. Your scales is the building block for everything. If you name a scale, I can play it without thinking about it. You name a scale and I play it in any key with any hand with the correct fingering. When time comes for you to do runs, it's those fingering that you've embedded in these muscle memory. That's what you're going to recall upon. They're going to come naturally. Let me see. It's just like speaking. When you're speaking, you don't really have to think about the words. You think about thoughts, and your thoughts manifest into words. Why is that? That's because you've been speaking for so long. You've been taught how to speak for so long. You've been training your brain to think in terms of words for so long that you can manifest your ideas and emotions into words. Now, playing the piano is the same thing. If you train your fingers to do runs by practicing your major scales, your blues scales, your minor scales, your pentatonic scales, and I always tell people, those are all the scales you need to know. Really, if you can learn all 12 major scales, left and right, all 12 minor scales, and there's 3 types of minor scales. There's melodic, there's harmonic, and there's natural minor scale. I cover this in the course, the Intermediates.
Hello.
The Intermediates Guide to Playing the Piano. 3 types of minor scales: the major scales, the blues scales, and the pentatonic scales. You can stop there. Why? All the other fancy modes that you hear the jazz guys talked about are derivative of one of those scales.
Hello.
The Superloquian, the Lydian dominant, Phrygian dominant, all of those scales are derivative from the harmonic minor scales. A lot of the jazz modes and the bebop modes and all of that stuff, they're derivative from the melodic minor scales. And then all of the church modes, the Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, they're all derivative from the major scale. So if you learn your major scale, your minor scales, your blues scales, and your pentatonic scales, you're in turn learning the modes. And so when I stress and tell people that in my beginners practice templates and intermediate practice templates, when I tell people practice your scales, it's not just because I want to give you extra work. Everything I tell you to practice will come in handy later on. So that's when I'm playing, I literally don't think about what fingering to use. Because I've spent years, and I'm not joking, I spent years learning how to play all my scales with the correct fingering in all the keys. It is truly the foundation. And once you start to make foundation building of utmost importance, you're going to see rocket. Just, you're going to take off. Your plane's going to take off. And so what we have is a lot of people trying to skip over the fundamentals, and they want to jump to passing chords, and they want to jump to substitutions and reharmonization. And those things are cool and they're fun. But you're going to realize you're still limiting. You don't know how to run over it. You don't know what to run over it because you skipped out on the fundamentals of these scales. Arpeggios, broken chords, all of those things will help you. And I currently have courses on all of them already. And I'll continue to do more stuff along that line of technique building. So my friend, to answer your question on YouTube right there, the fingering that I use for runs comes from years of practicing scales. Blues scales, pentatonic scale, the harmonic minor scale, the melodic minor scale, the natural minor scale on the pentatonic scale. 4 scale. And remember that the minor scale, there's 3 forms. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically, you'll just need to learn 6 scales in all 12 keys. And this is not something that you learn overnight. But if you practice it regular, every week, within a year, you're going to see significant changes. Because it not only teaches you fingerings to use over chords, it helps you to move more efficiently on the piano in general. You start to miss less notes when you're playing chords. You can leap from one end of the piano to the other end without missing. Your stride piano technique gets better. Your melodic playing gets better. So if you want to play, you know, a melody with a song, for those of you who know that song, you know that's total praise. There's no way to miss the melody. You get better at playing melodies with chords when you know the scale. One hand wash the other. When you learn your technique, it just sort of proliferate into all other areas of your playing. All right, let me pick a question over here from Hangouts. Man, you guys come in with questions. I love this. I'm probably going to have to do more than one of these a month because I love it, man. I could talk about this stuff till morning. Love it. Okay, let me see. It would be nice to see the keys of that overhead. Yeah, so KE, this is actually one of the reasons I wanted to stream through Google Hangouts is because I can switch windows. Let me, how you do that again? Let me see. Screen. Application. Sorry, tell me if you guys are seeing this.
I can see that.
You guys are seeing this? So I was in.
I can see that.
Can we see your face? This thing?
So were you guys able to see that? Great. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to stream through Google Hangout, because YouTube doesn't have that feature to share the screen. So I can do that whenever I'm going to demonstrate something. I could share the screen with you. But also know that this live is being recorded, and I'll export the video and it will be up on the website for you guys to review, and it will look just like my YouTube video. You'll see my hands, you'll see the keyboard layer, and so you guys can review that if you need. And if you also need the MIDI files, just let me know. I'll make that available too. Any more questions from Hangouts? Oh, yeah, Kehi, unfortunately, I haven't figured out yet how to show both screens. I've been researching some different methods, and it's going to require me to get some additional devices and transcoder, you know, to basically what I'm going to need is like multiple different cameras. And I'm going to need it hooked up to some kind of device. And eventually that's where I'm going with this. You know, I really want to have a robust live streaming platform so I can really do some of these stuff with you guys. So you can see multiple screens, and, you know, I can switch between cameras. But I got to look into more of the tools needed for this, because it's not that expensive. You know, I'm probably going to be looking at, I don't know, $800 or so in devices to be able to make this possible. But I think it's a worthwhile investment, because the world is going virtual, and being able to have the live stream stuff like that set up is going to be great. But YouTube currently doesn't have, well, I think YouTube does offer the ability to stream multiple cameras, but yeah, I was researching it last night, and I need this particular device, and it seemed like the device only, you can kind of connect only one camera to it. I would need to connect two. So I'm going to investigate more. Hopefully by next month, I can have a better solution. So I can show you, you guys can see me, you can see the keyboard and possibly my hands, and plus Meticulous and all of that stuff. I'll research that stuff for you guys, you know? Okay, what else do we got? Let me see some questions coming over. Can you demonstrate how to reharmonize a hymn? Okay, Hang, do you have a hymn in mind? I could probably grab my hymnal, see if it's in there. If you could give me a hymnal, preferably a popular hymn, then I can do a potential reharmonization on the spot. Because right now there's so many hymns going through my mind, I don't know which one to pick. In the meantime, I'll wait for your comment. I'm going to pick a question over from YouTube. Okay, so Flying Lotus say, should we run all the scales every day, or should we focus on one type of scales? Now, this is where I'm going to say, if you got my practice templates, right now I'm giving away both practice templates. The beginner's practice template and the intermediate practice template. In that, I walk you through what you should work on each day. And it's a 6-day practice template that you repeat. And as you repeat stuff, I show you how you need to change things out. I think I need to plug in my cell phone. It's about to die. Give me... Excuse me while I just... Had I known that it was going to be like this, I would have had my phone charged for one, and my iPad also handy. But you live and you learn, yeah? Let me just plug this in real quick. Okay, so now the phone is plugged in. So the question was, should we run all the scales every day, or should we focus on one type? I would say, no, well, definitely no. You don't want to run all the scales every day. You'll get overwhelmed. In terms of hierarchy of importance, your major scale should be at the top. That's what you need to knock out first in all 12 keys. Boom. Take a few weeks, few months if you need to. Get familiar with the major scale in all 12 keys. Why? I think it's a safe bet that 90% of the songs that you're probably going to be playing are in a major key. It makes sense to sort of perfect those first. Your next scale after the major scale, I would say, is the pentatonic scale. Pentatonic scale we use a lot. When playing, we use it a lot with the major scale. But if I'm playing, that's just the pentatonic scale I just played there, F pentatonic scale. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can really see what I'm doing. So I was playing El Shaddai. So I was doing once I get to this F, I can D minor, I can play C pentatonic scale over it. So, El Shaddai. All those little things I'm doing right there are just pentatonic scale movements. And so I would say that that's the order of importance. You learn your major scale first, then you start to work on your pentatonic scales. Then from there, your blues scales. And again, I'm listing those because all those scales you can use while still playing in a major key. Major scale, pentatonic, then the blues, and then you go on to the minor scales. And again, I talk about all of this in the practice templates and how you should practice, only a few scales a day. And, you keep going through that on a 6-day period. You rotate that. Okay. Let me see. There's a question over here. So Hang, I still haven't you haven't mentioned him yet. You said you said, can you demonstrate how to reharmonize a hymn now? And I said, do you have a hymn in mind? I prefer to pick a hymn that you already know, so it make more sense to you. I'll pick a question from YouTube. It says, in learning each chord progression, should I be able to play them all without thinking about it or without looking at the notes taken from your lessons? There's just a lot to learn. I know how you feel, brother. You feel like you're at the bottom of the mountain and you're staring up at this thing called piano. Huge. And you're like, how will I ever make it to the top? But trust me, I was once where you were, where I just felt like I would never be able to consume all this information in a lifetime. And even if I do live long enough to consuming it, I'm not going to be able to retain all of this. But I'm telling you, you're going to get there. Your brain is a lot more powerful than you think. You'll be able to retain. I mean, right now, my brain has hundreds of songs that I don't even remember. But as soon as someone starts singing, I go, ooh, I know that song, and all the chords come back to me. So you'll get there. It takes time, and it takes discipline, and it takes consistency. The consistency is what's going to manifest in the long run. If you're trying to learn all of this in 6 months or even a year, you're going to get overwhelmed. And in one of my earlier videos this year, I talk about putting on your blinders. You have to stop focus on everything and just focus on what's in front of you right now. What can I work on right now? And this is the reason why I decided to start giving away the practice templates. Because I really think they're going to help people to create structure. And that's the biggest thing. So many people are crippled by the idea of practicing and trying to get better because they don't know where to start. They don't know what to work on. They're just like, I'm not even going to look at the piano today because I'm overwhelmed. And the practice template is to help you to simplify things. Think of one day. That's it. What can I work on today? And you focus on that. What can I work on tomorrow? You focus on that. And that's what the template helps you to do, to think about one day at a time. Not think about a year and think about the distance between a beginner to an advanced. No. The templates help you to simplify things on a daily basis. That's how I got through it when I was a student in college. You have curriculum. That curriculum is broken down into months and into weeks and into days. What do I do today? What do I do tomorrow? What do I do? You work through week after week. And if you can focus on just maintaining that, focusing on what you can do today based on the directions given in the courses, then you'll begin to see a lot of growth. Then it becomes also less overwhelming. You stop thinking about the big picture and you just focus on the small picture. It's just like when you're putting together a puzzle. An average puzzle takes a long time to put together. But if you try to figure out what the entire picture is going to look like from you lay the first piece on the board, you're going to get confused. But you lay one piece, and then you lay a second piece, and you're just focusing on a piece by piece. And then what happens after you sit there for an hour? You start to see an image start to form. Yeah, an image start to form. And then after a while, you start to see the picture and start to make sense. Piano playing is very similar. Focus on one thing at a time. And the practice templates help you to do that. I know it's frustrating. I know it feels like this thing you'll never end. You'll never be able to get to the level to just play the stuff you like. But I guarantee you, if you're able to stay disciplined and focused, you will get there. There's no other way. You have to get there. That's it. I wasn't born smarter than any of you. I tell folks all the time, I was an average student in school. I would say a C plus B. That's it, average. I wasn't the one walking up on stage to get awards and all that stuff as a student in school. I was average. Failed the classes, had to retake classes. I was just an average student. Then I found something that I loved, and I decided to just dive in and invest my entire life. 15 years I've been playing the piano consistently. 15 years consistent. I think this year is going to make 16 years. Consistently. I may take a week off or days off here and there, but still 15 years. And 8 of those years were dedicated to college. 8 of those years were dedicated to just learning. And there were a lot of days that I stood and watched other pianists play and just feel discouraged. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I'll never get there. But, I got there. And you think, the beauty about all this? You're not even going to know when you get there. You're just going to notice one day that, oh, man, I could play all this stuff. It's not going to be a light bulb moment where you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm advanced. It's the gradual thing, just like growth. I put on a jacket the other day that I bought about 4 years ago, and I can't fit in the jacket anymore. When I bought it, I could fit in it. I stepped on the scale, and I've gained 20 pounds since. So I've been going to the gym and working out. I need to drop some weight so I can get back in the jacket. How did I gain 20 pounds? It didn't happen once. It happened incrementally over 4 years. And so the same thing with piano. You're not just gonna boom and you're advanced. It's just gonna be a creep over the years. And after a while, you're not even gonna think about skill levels anymore. You're gonna be so hungry for knowledge. You just keep chasing that, and eventually you just wake up and go, "Oh, I guess I'm an advanced player." And it's not even gonna mean much to you because you've been working so diligently at this thing for so long. You're not even gonna know when you get there. So my goal is for you guys who haven't gotten yourself the template yet. I'm gonna send out an email blast to all you guys who are on my list tomorrow. So anybody who hasn't gotten the template yet, download it and start working through it. Not everything's going to make sense right away. Some things you're going to be slow with, some things you're going to struggle with, but just continue to learn, continue to practice, continue to be disciplined. Consistency will help you win. How great thou art is my suggestion for the hymn. All right, I'll try to reharmonize How Great Thou Art. I haven't played that one in a while. And I'm going to show you guys the keyboard so you guys can see. And if I fumble, my apologies, because I'm doing this on the spot. All right, here we go. So I'm going to use C sharp. Let me do that again. Okay, that was on the fly. If I spend more time with it, I can come up with even more chords. But hopefully that gave some ideas. Warren, you play boogie woogie? I don't play a lot of boogie woogie, to be honest. You know, if I'm doing something bluesy, then some boogie woogie technique might come out, but I wouldn't consider myself like a serious boogie woogie player. You know, there are other guys out there that are much better than at that particular style than I am. Okay, guys. So in 5 minutes, I'm going to wrap up the live. I can see my wife texting me right now. It's Friday night, and I'm doing live stream. Honey, when are you coming upstairs? Carl say, Warren, what was the name of the song you played about 15 minutes ago? Ooh, well, I played couple. I played El Shaddai. Is it this one? Yeah, so that's El Shaddai. How do you spell it? Jesus, you put me on the spot. ELSHADDI. There we go. Yeah, I did got it right. ELSHADDAI. Oh, I missed the A. So K, he wrote it in the message. El Shaddai. ELSHADDAI. Let me see. I think some message coming in here from YouTube. Yeah, there's so much to learn, man, but you got to take it one day at a time. Flying Lotus saying there's so much to learn, but you know, that's the thing. People focus on the big picture too long and they get overwhelmed. You got to take it one step at a time. Can you imagine what it feels like to a baby? Seeing all these adults around them just running up and down and talking, and the baby's in the crib like, man, when am I going to be able to speak that fluently? Or even just walk so I can get out of this crib? It takes time. It takes time, you know? So just focus on one day at a time. The song you give us, like Danny Boy, really helped me translate the progressions into something useful. That's awesome, Mike. I'm glad that helped. And Carlisle says, your tutorials, ideas, that's the one, the gospel passing chord in C. Surely the presence of the Lord. The 3-6-2-5 progression, you explain further why the 6 and the 2 are dominant in the progression. Yes, Carl sent me an email earlier in the day. For those who have watched my gospel passing chords in C course, where I did the Surely the Presence. Surely the Presence. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see the screen again. Here we go. So it goes, surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty powers and his grace. And I did. the spot where I did that. And he was asking, how are you making the 3 dominant, the 6 dominant, and the 2 dominant? Aren't those chords supposed to be minor? So I explained to him that those are called turnaround chords. And usually turnaround chords are used at the end of a phrase or the end of a section of a song. Usually at that point, there's no singing happening, or the singer is probably holding out a long tone. And so the keyboardist has the option now of turning those minor chords into secondary dominants. And because it's just a 3-6-2-5 to take you back to 1. You can even start extending the chords. So you don't have to do just mere dominants. You can do 13ths. You can experiment, and it depends on the type of song, how far out you can go with the reharmonization. Okay, so I'm going to take one more question, and then I'm going to have to call a live stream at night. But it was great hanging with you guys, and I'm definitely going to figure this thing out for our March live streaming session. I'm going to figure out how to make it more efficient so I can probably broadcast multiple camera shots and all the works. I'll definitely try to research that for you guys. So I'll take one more question. Well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions on YouTube. Oh, wait, there's one more. From Jane Gabriel. Says, if you're playing at church and they start singing a song that you don't know and you have to play, what technique can you give us for that? Or how will you approach this song? So it's not the first time I've gotten a question like that. When I was just starting out playing for services, they played songs that I didn't know. And to be honest, what I did, I don't play. I just didn't play. If it's a song that you've heard before and you can fake your way through just playing some triads and, you know, try to pick up, you can try that. But if you've never heard a song before, I would say just sit out, because you know what? It's going to sound better, the church singing a cappella, than you trying to guess the chords. And it sounds like a mess. So I would sit out, because as good as I am as a player, if someone starts singing a song I've never heard before, I'm going to sound like a mess if I try to play chords to that too. I may be able to guess 1 and 2 chords, but I guarantee the majority of it's going to sound a mess. It's not going to work, even for me. So what I try to do, and what I always tell beginners players to do that plays for church services, carry a notebook with you, or you can even use the notepad in your phone. Every time a song was sung that I didn't know, I write that song down. And I made sure to go home and learn it. So if they sing it next week, I can even play, even just try it for it. You know, it's your job to prepare as much as you can. The good news is that my church sort of run on a bulletin. So rarely there's a song sung in church that I didn't prepare for during the week. You know, being the reverend, we decide what songs we're going to use for the service based on his sermon that he's prepared. And so by like Thursday, I know all the songs already for Sunday service. So if he decides to use a new song, me and the band, we already learned it before Sunday service. You know, because we stream our service live on Facebook every Sunday. And so, you know, we want to make sure that it's presentable and things flow nicely. Occasionally, we might throw in something spontaneous. But the thing is, at this point, I know so many songs, it'll be very hard for someone to pick a song randomly that I don't already know. But before I learned all that song, that's how I would do it. And then because, I mean, all the churches that I've attended, always sort of have the songs prepared a few days before service. So they would shoot the songs to the musician so we could learn. So if you're currently praying for your church and every week you got random songs singing that you don't know, I would say talk with the pastor and say, hey, is it possible I can get the songs for the service at least a day or two before service so I can prepare? And I assume any reasonable pastor would agree to that, yeah? So that you can be prepared and you're not having to play random songs on the spots that you don't know, especially if you're still in the learning stage, you know? But if you find yourself in a position with someone singing a song that you just don't know, don't play. Nobody can force you to play. You don't know the song. If they're looking at you and they're like, come on, you say, I don't know the song. Sing it a cappella. That would be my tip for you. All right, questions are coming. I'm gonna take one more questions, and then I'm gonna have to close out. So this one's from Carl. Can you use the diminished seventh to transpose? As in change one note and leads to a dominant seventh chord. Instance, C diminished seventh, and move down a half step to one of the notes, say C to B. Carl, this is, see if you can simplify this question for me. I'm not sure I understand. The only part I understand is, can you use a diminished seventh chord to transpose? I assume you mean, can you use a diminished seventh chord as a pivot chord to modulate to another key? That's what you mean? Like, for example, you know, actually, I don't think so, Carl, because the thing is with, if I'm understanding you right, with modulation, you need to have a common tone. So if I was playing Surely the Presence earlier. See glory on each face, surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely. So that type of modulation that I just did is called a common tone modulation. Because the melody of the song ended on the root, which is C. I'm going to share my screen real quick so you guys can see what I'm doing. Oops. Nope. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I pressed the wrong thing. So I did. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can use that chord because this chord is both common. This note is common to both C, but it's also common to the 5 of the new key that I'm going to. So you see, that one is called common tone modulation. So even though this portion of the chord is diminished, if I make it a diminished seventh, then we start to get into that, you realize it starts to introduce too much dissonance, so it wouldn't sound good. Even if I keep that as just a diminished chord like that, surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. There's no root note, so the chord has no basis. A diminished chord on its own is just too much tension. So you need a root note, and then you can hear that, okay, it's going somewhere. So that's a sort of long answer to your question. I don't think you can use a diminished seventh chord as a transitional chord to modulate to another key. All right, guys. So unfortunately, I got to close out for now. Sorry for the technical issues earlier. I'm going to have to research to see, for one, if I can just stream straight from Google Hangouts, how many people I can have on screen, because sometimes they have a limit. And then I'm going to see what other software and equipment available for me to show both me talking and probably show Meticulous, the virtual keys, and probably show the camera angle for my hands. So it's a whole bunch of complex setup and something I'm going to have to research, but I'll have a few weeks. As I get more time, I probably would start to do 2 live streams a month, because you guys really did come with some good questions. And it's fun, it's fun. I get to hear where you guys are at. I get to hear what's going on inside your brain. And the more I know about you guys, the better I can create tutorials that really solve your problem. All right? So thanks again, guys, for taking your Friday night off to hang with me. And yeah, I'll catch you soon in another YouTube video or online. Also, this will be this is recorded, and I'll edit it and everything, and I'll post it on the website, so you can access it just like a regular video course over there if you need to review. I'll also make the MIDI file available. So for you guys who have Meticulous, and if there's something I played that you go, "Ooh, I want to be able to grab that, add it to my tools," then you can do that. All right. So you guys have a wonderful weekend, and take care.
Thank you.